Okay, this is Professor Del Carpio. Okay, we are reviewing Module 4, but it's actually connected to Module 5 about negotiation. Please, guys, try to apply these regular common negotiation tips for emerging markets. We will see that in emerging markets, one thing that we need to do is like to build trust. And then you do not do that in one day. Okay? Yeah. So take into account that in general terms, the perspective of long term in emerging markets, it's applied at all, both in Russia, like in Brazil, or in Indonesia. It is like the perspective of long-term business, getting to know you personally, and things like that. And in America, it's like business is business, and then we can have a beer later. Yeah. All right, no problem. But over there, it doesn't work like that. Okay. All right, it does not. Okay, especially on the East Coast. We are here in Hawaii, so it's a little bit different. Everything goes more slow motion in comparison to New York, okay, or Pennsylvania. Very good. So negotiation tip 1, group 1. What is it? Most people are not good negotiation, in your own words.
So most people are not good at negotiation. So in order to better yourself, if you want to be a good negotiator, there's books. I mean, there's videos on YouTube that you can relate to, or and try to get that skill and practice. I mean, practice with your friends.
Very good. And what could be practice with your friends?
Yeah.
Try to do that with your partner.
Yeah, with your partner.
Very good. Yes, use these tips for your partner. Yeah, it works. Yeah. So. Different type of partners, okay? Loving partner, peers, anything. So concrete example.
So I like to go golf on a weekend, but my wife have this whole shitload of things that I have to do through the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So I have to negotiate with her that I will sacrifice my golf to do some of these things, but she'll let me go play golf on Sunday because.
Okay, so on Saturdays, and how did you do that? It's like, did you read about that? Did you, concrete example, check, for instance, the YouTube link that we were watching the other day, getting her into the perspective of the other person. Try to understand, especially if you are talking about your wife. Wife is that touch the feelings, or make as if you are actually listening, not only hearing. Okay, that helps a lot, and that makes you feel better. That's it. And that's what it matters to us. Okay, how I'm feeling. Sometimes we are not that rational, and I can say that because I'm a woman. All right. It's true. It is true. No matter what it's like, no matter your culture, that applies in emerging markets. All right. Okay. Tip number 2, group 1.
Okay, so tip number 2 is understand yourself, your wants, and position. What that means is this article here is understanding what your BANTA is, and it's an abbreviation for best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Finding the best deal possible. Ideally in Hawaii, it's always finding the best quality for the lowest price. In construction, cars, the services, you name it. You're basically, when you find your BANTA, you're trying to find your minimum. Like the lowest you'll go in, as far as pricing, as far as like stability, as far as a service offered, where it won't put you in a hole or put you in a position to where you can't function. You never want to go into a negotiation. You never want to start a negotiation without getting your ducks in a row. Basically, understanding your BANTA kind of gets everything in order before you go into a negotiation. That's your tool to go in and come out of a negotiation successful, or at least partway successful, or at least nobody's losing out.
Very good.
Yeah.
That of the focal point for emphasis is like sometimes you don't want less is more. I learned that, okay? Although you believe that I'm doing, like I'm giving a lot of information, trust me, there is much more. And I decide certain parts of Module 5, for instance, you can see that individually you will have read, okay, points. We are only checking 3 points. Less is more. So too many
Yeah.
focal points, too many things are too much, and then you are going to get less,
It's
all
also
right?
that one thing
Yeah.
to focus
What
on. You're going to
correct?
do, right?
What is like the most important point, the second most important point, and the third one, and that's it.
Depending on what you're negotiating on, yeah. That's
Okay,
important.
and that's it. And especially the rest, the minors, the semicolons, you can read that on the paper. But when I'm talking to you with people, and then after 1 minute talk, a lot of people lose concentration. Okay, so less is more focal point, and get the emphasis on that.
More, so less focal points. Huh?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so we had a
yeah.
phrase, add a phrase for each one. So for a negotiation tip 2, the phrase was "Don't go if you don't know."
What you doing?
That's
Don't go if
very
you don't know.
good. Number 3, I like it.
Up to that, it's totally cool.
All right.
Okay.
So number 3, understand who you're negotiating with. It depends on what you're gonna. Let's for instance, you're looking for a job and you finally find a job, and then you go and walk in, sit down with whoever's on the other side of the table, negotiating your pay and all that stuff. So before you come in, you figure out this company. You look it up, how much they get paid, what are the benefits are. So these are the stuff you have to know before you come in and negotiate your salary and all the benefits with the company. So like you always ask for a higher number than what they offer.
I really like that. I was gonna
Yeah.
give like 4 points for this. 4 points, 1 point for each one. But I really like how you're doing, so it might be 8 points for this assignment. Okay,
we
you are
saw.
doing great. So understanding who you are negotiating with, you are actually as well linking with last week. Okay, ask always more. If I want 4,000, I'm gonna ask for 5,000,
Right.
and hopefully we get into the meaning. And I know my but now what is like my lowest point. I'm not gonna go lower than
It's a give
3,500.
It's a give
Yeah.
and take. You
So
know,
what
you
is the
want,
best
yeah.
alternative?
So best alternative, win-win, and then it's about how people feel and the perspective as
So-
well. Everybody's winning in a way. All right, who are you negotiating with? Give a concrete example, okay? So if I'm talking, I gave you the example last week of my friend who used to work in Morocco, and she was the boss.
Yeah.
She was the main boss of the company. But she knew who she was negotiating with. So she gave the power of attorney to her male secretary. And that was very important for her to have a male secretary. Because for a beginning negotiation, it's okay if she's there. But actually,
Yeah,
to close the deal, okay, to seal the deal, then they need a man. And she's young. She just turned 32, so that was like, she was 26. She was young and she was a woman.
It was business psychology.
Yeah.
Business
She did it
psychology.
good, yeah.
So her secretary was older. It was like 40s, early 40s.
She's the one who
And
ended
as a
up-
man,
Yeah.
okay, so she was acting as the secretary. She knew, she was like getting the perspective as well
It was
of
her brains
the
in his
other.
mouth, and that's
Yeah.
the way it works sometimes.
And that
Yeah.
thing, the type of things are like working in emerging markets. Still,
It's still
okay?
works, yeah.
It's very,
Yeah,
very, very
dominates.
much. All right. So, tip 4, please.
Tip 4 is understand the situation, frame the negotiation. So, most negotiations aren't short term. It's not just dine and dash. It's something long term too. The example I'm giving here was an office space that you wanted to negotiate the price for because you wanted to lose it. Now, in actuality, like my concrete example with my job is you want more for less, like I was saying earlier, right? You want the best quality for the lowest price. So in this instance, they wanted to you want to lowball the rent, but you want everything that they have to offer. But if they go too low, well, that means the services they're going to offer is also going to be a lot less than what's advertised, because what they advertise is $1,500 a month. With those services, well, that's if you're paying $1,500 a month. But if you're going down, so are the services. It's a give and take. So my machines, I rent them out long term, but they still want the best rates, but they only want to pay a little bit. It's like, yeah, you know, if you get it for this price, we'll offer all these services because the cost will be covered in the rental. But if not, you're on your own. You know what I mean? I expect the machine to come back serviced and clean. If not, we'll come out there and do it if you're paying full price for it. And that's
Your concrete example.
meeting halfway, being reasonable. Don't go outside of the means on both ends. Remember that you're both coming into negotiating, needing a service, or in this instance, an office space. So come halfway to where it suits your needs and their needs as well. It can't be selfish when you're negotiating. It can't be all about you, because they have that same mindset as well. So if they see that you're level-headed, and they'll try to, you know, I can deal with them long term. Then they're going to want to negotiate. They're going to want to give you the best prices because I can rely on this person to negotiate properly with us.
Okay, very good, good. So this comes to group 2, negotiation tip 4. What do you have for that, guys? How can you explain that in your own words?
We had basically establishing our own limits and trusts, and trying to collaborate to seek a win-win situation between both parties.
Okay, so we could be into a little bit on the integrative, just to link some terminology of last week, okay? Integrative type of negotiation is not, or win-win negotiation, okay? It's not just about me being very, very aggressive and winning, okay? I can get the deal today, but if I want on the long term, what the whole thing represents, so I have to adapt, give and take. Okay. What is the concrete example again?
We had one of like buying a used car. So basically, get what you pay for, and if you trying to lowball the dealer, then chances are you're gonna get something that might break down, and it might not be as reliable as if you spend a couple $1,000s more. And then also, like Nate was saying, if you spend a little bit more money, you might get a additional warranty to cover whatever breakdowns there might be in the car.
Okay, the whole frame as well, and then what if. Very important to get that.
Warranty,
The what if, right? It's like, oh, what if? Okay, take that into account. Very good. Tip number 5, please.
That was like making the first offer. So in your own words.
Okay.
John is kind of
Your own. Who wants to do this one?
To me, for make the first offer, it kind of explained itself, and you wanna be the first one to offer something up. But at the same time, if you make the first offer, you want to make sure you're prepared with your offer.